And Nico Cantor, I have to come to you first. It was a statement victory, wasn't it? Give us your thoughts, give us your rundown.
Yeah, I think Argentina's been putting up statement victories for a while now. This team is at the top of their game for several years, and they've proven that. I think it was more of a statement loss for Brazil, more than anything. This is the Argentina that we've grown to expect. It was a sensational performance. I don't want to take anything away from Argentina because you got to go out and make Brazil look like the last place team on the World Cup qualifying table. But it was a game ripe with naivete from Brazil, and I never thought I would see that from the Verde Amarela. They were so poor on all accounts, on all fronts, even Argentina gifting them a goal. It was embarrassing. It was a humiliation last night, and Argentina made sure not to take the foot off the gas. Without Lautaro, without Messi, they pulled them apart. Like, you know when you pull pork, when it's right out of the oven, and you got the two forks, and you just start pulling away, they dismantled them.
Is it the pork that you're making at your house that I'm still waiting the invite for, Nico?
Yeah.
2025 wish list morning footy.
Don't worry, when the Dutch oven comes, I'll invite you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, we're going to shred Brazil in a bit with, I think we got Mbizo Mzamane coming in later, but I think you said a lot of key words. The big word that I resonate with was the humiliation factor. And this was an Argentina side, and under Lionel Scaloni, that they have a bit between their teeth. And I think the strength of this side since the World Cup has been in the midfield. Previous Argentine midfields, the likes of Mascherano, it's been that sort of player that's got the bite. Now you have three players. Rodrigo de Paul looked unplayable. Enzo Fernández, that's one of the best games I've seen him play in South American qualifiers and in an Argentine shirt. And Alexis McAllister, those are three players with the national team that they play with the big Superman S on their chest. And Brazil didn't have a single answer for them. And there's a new term that I'm seeing people talk about, Scaloni ball. And I think that it's down to the midfield. I think there was a chance that they had, I think it was maybe the Enzo Fernández goal, where it was maybe 10 to 15 passes playing from the back. Let's do 20 even.
It was 34 passes.
34 passes? My math is way off.
Every
It's early.
Yeah.
Every Argentina player touched the ball in that sequence.
Yeah.
Every single one to the goalkeeper. Obviously, some touches less important than others, but the way that they picked Brazil apart on that goal, those are the types of performances, the one from Argentina last night, that Brazil historically would inflict on Argentina. I would be embarrassed to go to school the next day. I didn't want to show my face at school because I knew I would be made fun of. And for the first time in my life, I'm watching this Brazil side that's arguably the worst. It's for sure the worst of my lifetime. I don't know, we'd have to roll back the clock to see how bad this Brazil team really is. But Argentina's giving them a taste of their own medicine. I just can't believe there's like 16, 15-year-old kids right now that are in Argentina that think like this has been it for forever, right? This Argentina team that is unplayable on all accounts.
So Mbizo Mzamane joins us. He is our Brazilian CBS Sports correspondent. Mbizo, lovely to see you. What a game. Take us through it. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it was just a devastating performance. I think probably the worst qualifying match that Brazil has ever played, not just in scoreline, but absolutely in the way that they went about the game. I mean, giving up an early goal to the world champions in Argentina is one of the worst things you could absolutely do. They began with absolutely no intensity, and worse off, to me, they looked scared. They looked intimidated. They looked like they couldn't bear the weight of the jersey and the expectation of this country. They lacked mental and emotional fortitude. I mean, Argentina played through that midfield with so much ease. The trio, the attacking trio, looked disinterested on the defensive side of the ball. They did so little to help the midfield and the defense. And Argentina, for me, on the converse, was absolutely superb, well organized. And if anybody played Joga Bonito, it was the Argentines, and they were absolutely fantastic. For me, Brazil has so much to improve on, and I'm just absolutely devastated by that performance.
And Mbizo, the problem seems to be that every time Brazil move forward, it's one step forward and then two steps back. Why does this keep happening?
I have to be very frank. It's difficult to pinpoint any single issue, but I can definitely say with certainty that there's a number of different issues that are happening even here at grassroots, from all the way from the bottom level of football in this country, from the bottom all the way to the top, all the way through the professional leagues into the national team. And it just seems like there is no change. Obviously, the CBF president, the actual CBF president, is going to run unopposed again. And then there are questions about why is it that Brazil is struggling both in organizational terms and in football terms on the pitch, yet there's nobody to challenge the structures that be and try to change things around. So there's a lot of internal issues that are happening, and I think those are starting to leak out onto the football pitch.
Master, you brought up something last segment that it almost felt fabricated, right? Raphinha sitting in that chair almost not confident. His body language didn't mirror what he was saying, right? And yeah, you expect a little bit of fight, but it only served to heat up the situation. And if there's one team that's not to be messed with, from one team that you shouldn't give fuel to the fire, it's specifically this Argentina. So Porrada neles. We're going to give them a beating. How have those words, now that the dust has settled, how have those words resonated or not with people in Brazil following the porrada on them themselves, the Brazilian national team?
Well, I'll be very frank. I enjoyed the defiance that I heard in Raphinha's voice, but the problem comes when there's a disconnect between the words that come out of your mouth and the performance that you place out there on the pitch. I mean, those two simply did not match. You cannot talk that way about the world champions, about Argentina, about the masters of Cachimba and the dark arts. I mean, these guys simply know how to win, and then step onto the pitch with such emotional frailty. It was really, really disappointing. I think Brazilians all feel the same way. They feel that if you're going to talk, then you need to back it up. Or alternatively, don't say anything at all and let your football do the talking. So I think that's a sentiment that's shared throughout the country. But honestly, we didn't have our best team out there. I don't believe that the team that Dorival is putting out on the pitch are the best Brazilian players in the world. Again, I think there's a bit of eurocentrism and what they call here syndrome vira-lata, which is this love for other, love for foreign, love for European, that is, I think, jading them to pick players who are simply doing well for their clubs, but do not have the caliber and do not have the standard to represent the best national team of all time. And I think this is something that Brazil needs to reflect on, because there was a time where, despite all the incredible stars and Ballon d'Or winners that they had on their team, there was still space for domestic players, for young quality players with potential, with future, rather than just a player who has high prestige because he plays in a well-known league. So I think that is also one of the problems. And I mean, that's just what it is, man. We're in dire straits right now. We will qualify, certainly, but I don't think we can even dream of a World Cup final or even winning it at this point in time.
And Mbizo, you talk about the eurocentrism and you talk about the big name players who haven't shown up. We mentioned Raphinha, but we got to talk about Vini Jr. Man, scores the game-winning goal, and I thought gave a better representation of himself and a bit of a national team against Colombia, but he was pretty much a ghost in this game. Can you explain what the hell was he doing on the night, and what's his role with this national team? Because every time I think I understand, I go back to I don't know what to say.
Yeah, his performance was really, really poor. And one can understand if offensively things aren't coming off like you'd like, things aren't quite working out the way they usually work out for you when you're a top quality player. But his level of effort was just, for me, it was a disgrace. I mean, there were opportunities that he had, along with the other front three, where they could have closed down, they could have won the ball and put Argentina under pressure. And he just simply didn't do it. And then later on in the game, there's reports of him saying to the Argentine players, I've won 2 Champions League, I've won 2 Champions League. I mean, what are you saying to World Cup winners and to Copa America winners? Who cares what you've won over there in Madrid? Here is where the game is, right now. And so for me, I think there's a little bit of ego creeping in. There's a little bit of mightier than thou, holier than thou. And I think he needs to just put his head down and start to work for this national team. If it's not coming off with the dribbles, if it's not coming off with the ginga and the joga bonito, you put in effort. And I think that's where Argentina always does well. Even even if the football is not coming off, the intensity is always high. The desire is always second to none. And as Nico pointed out earlier before I came on, they were superior to Brazil in every single way. And I think Vinicius Jr. Was a good representation of the ways in which Brazil needs to improve.
It was just drastic and clear obvious that Argentina is well positioned to be just fine after Messi, where Brazil probably should have been planning that a long time ago as well with all the injuries that Neymar has had, but they still seem to be stuck on him being the focal point of this team. His inability to once again make it for this World Cup qualifiers and to stay fit and healthy. What's the future for him? And if it's not him, who's the replacement? Did Cunha show you something there that he could potentially be at the 10? Like, where does this structure, who is the focal point of this team if Neymar still can't stay healthy?
With absolutely all due respect to Matheus Cunha and the wonderful season that he's having there, and despite his goal yesterday, which, by the way, I think was quite lucky because I think he made the wrong decision. He should have played the ball right to Rodrigo, but it went in. But for me, Matheus Cunha cannot be the number 10, the focal point of creativity for the Brazilian national team. I personally, again, I reiterate that I think Rodrigo moving forward should be that focal point, should be that source of creativity. But Brazil is really missing a pure playmaker. They really are missing in that midfield. A player, for example, that Argentina has in Thiago Almada. I think Thiago Almada is a spectacular player. What a player. Creative force, good defensively on the ball with his high work rate, and can really make things happen with magic, but consistently with great off-the-ball movement. Brazil doesn't have that. And in fact, their off-the-ball movement was absolutely dead, particularly in the first half, especially before their goal, which only came from the Argentina mistake. So it's difficult to say, but I would put my money on Rodrigo. But again, there's some wholesale changes that are requisite for this Brazilian team. And the absence of Neymar is not the only issue they need to look at.
They're so void of aura, it's embarrassing. And Brazilian teams of the past would simply win on aura. The charismatic Brazilian teams from before that had the jogo bonito, but also had the bite. They were dirty when they wanted to, but they would also wow you with their class. They had a little bit of everything, those teams. And the nostalgia that's been built for the last 20 years has brought Brazilian football to this point because you have to keep on developing talent. And you look at the Brazilian team sheet and a lot of players are unrecognizable or are either better players on their club than they are for the Brazilian national team. And they're a team full of individuals that they're put together, and they're not a Brazilian national team. They have none of that Brazilian energy that you've come to expect.